What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is a special day for multiple reasons. First and foremost, it is April 1st, 2024, which of course means it's April Fool's Day. I'm sure a lot of you out there are having a great day fooling, tricking your friends and family. Here on the Beer Patrol, though, we don't celebrate April Fool's Day for a reason that I'll talk about momentarily. However, it is also this year a Dingus Day, which is widely associated with Polish and Polish American folk like myself. I am Polish American. I am quarter Polish, and I grew up eating a ton of different Polish food and celebrating different Polish holidays and whatnot. And earlier today, I posted a review to honor Dingus Day. However, the main reason why it's a special day for this channel specifically is because it is the anniversary of the Beer Patrol. That's right, back on April 1st of 2018, I started this channel. So this year, today is the 6th anniversary of the channel. And honestly, we are, here we are 6 years later and over 2,000 beer reviews. And honestly, I never thought I would get to this point. Now, I started the channel on April 1st to troll my beer tubing friends because I've been watching beer tube since 2009. I've been friends with a lot of current beer tubers and former beer tubers since about 2012. And the running joke was that I was never going to start a channel. So back on April 1st of 2018, I started a channel, and I named it the Beer Patrol, trolling, but I actually started the channel for real. And here we are 6 years later, and it's still going strong. Most years I try to celebrate something on the channel. There's been a couple of years where I haven't been able to do so. So this year I thought I would do a side-by-side comparison review of two beers that I never had a chance to actually compare. I've had both of these beers before numerous times. I just have never been able to do a proper side-by-side, and these are almost identical in freshness, which is crazy. So to celebrate the Beer Patrol's 6th anniversary, I am doing a side-by-side comparison review of two beers from the Alchemist, and they are out of Stowe, Vermont. We have the iconic Heady Topper and Focal Banger. So Heady Topper is a double IPA that comes at 8% alcohol by volume and 100 IBUs, while Focal Banger is an IPA that comes at 7% alcohol by volume and 90 IBUs. At the time of review, both of these cans are approximately 3 weeks old. And the reason why I say approximately 3 weeks old is because Focal Banger is literally 1 day fresher than Heady Topper. Now, again, I've reviewed both of these on my channel. I reviewed Heady Topper back in like 2019 and Focal Banger back in 2022. I've had these beers, again, numerous times before, but I've never been able to sit down and do a side-by-side. And I was inspired by a couple fellow beer tubers and friends of mine. First and foremost, Sam Smalley of Short and Stout Beer Reviews. He actually did the side-by-side within the past month. I watched the review. He did it live, and he did the cuvee, aka a cuvee at the end. He called it, I think, it was Heady Banger instead of Focal Topper. That's what I would call it as well. And he has been dying to try both these beers, and he finally got his hands on a lot of different hype beers, and he did a side-by-side. It was a lot of fun to watch. And then the other one is Joe Senegali, a friend of mine, a fellow beer tuber. A lot of you know him. He's been revisiting a lot of classic beers. So I thought, why not revisit these two? The first time I had Heady was 2013. First time I had Focal was 2015. Never did a side-by-side. So here we are. So like I said, at the end, I'm going to do the cuvee. And the one thing I didn't do in either of these reviews, it says right around the rim on both cans, drink from the can. I forgot in both reviews. So hopefully I remember today. I have the glass off camera, and I'm going to try to drink out of both cans, do the cuvee, and hopefully this is not like a 35-minute video. But it's the Beer Patrol. I talk a lot. It could be. So, this is a proprietary blend of like 6 different hops, Heady, and this focuses more on Mosaic and Citra. And these are not, the same beer or even like super similar. I find them to be quite different, but, they have some similarities to them. But I still think doing like a side-by-side is still a lot of fun. And the fact that we get distro here in Buffalo, New York, and I'm sure a lot of you out there also get distro of the Alchemist stuff is crazy, When I first had this beer in 2013, we're talking 11 years ago, there was none of that going down. That wasn't a thing. You had to go to Vermont. So we'll give it a pour here. I'll probably go like halfway in, something like that. We'll do aggressive pour just to get a decent head. So we'll do something like that, and I'll leave some, for the cuvee, but also some for drinking out of the can. And then we'll do the same thing here. Did I pour a little bit more of that? No, I think it's about similar, maybe. Look at these great pours. So throw this over here. And again, 3 weeks old, pretty damn fresh, I would say, especially making distro. Anyway, swirl this one up, and we'll do a nice side-by-side here. All right, so how do they look? I don't know how they're gonna look on camera, but in person, they look fucking pretty identical. I feel like Heady might be a little bit more vibrant in the glass. So Heady has a little bit more of a vibrancy to it. And this has a little bit more of a darker appearance. I'll hold it up to both lights and see. Yeah, I think Heady has a little bit more clarity to it, and Focal's a little bit more murky and turbid. They both have like a almost two finger of this creamy, off-white colored head. A little bit of soap sudsy, but very creamy looking. Again, they both are murky and turbid, but they're not like that, crazy. Shout out to the aforementioned Joe, who says like you took orange juice and you poured milk into it, like that kind of crazy, milky, juicy look to it. These aren't it. These are old school Vermont IPAs and Vermont double IPAs that, definitely have a haze to them, but they're not over the top. So we'll throw down Focal and we'll get into Heady first. There's, a lot of people think that a lot of these beers hold up, and I'm one of them. And then there's some that are into the haze craze maybe over the last 3, 4, 5 years that drink these and are like, well, that's okay. You got to understand where these beers came from, the recipes. I'm sure they've tweaked them over the year, but I remember when these beers first came out, we go back to Pliny, and Simcoe was a relatively new hop when Pliny the Elder first came out, right? People were gushing over it. So yeah, maybe the recipes have changed over the year, but these are older recipes that have been tweaked and whatnot. It's not like the new stuff. And honestly, it doesn't even matter. These just smell fucking great. A lot of juicy orange and citrus, pineapple and mango. But one thing about Heady I always get is I get this nice dank herbaceous kind of quality. There's a little bit of pine resin. And I don't know, in this batch specifically, I'm getting a touch of berry. Maybe melon. This smells more vibrant in terms of the fruit character than I remember the last time I had this beer. But it has that green, earthy, vegetal kind of dank herbaceousness as well. Very slight underlying bready kind of malt character. Very slight, a little bit of honey. It smells like Heady. It smells awesome. It smells like Heady, but a little bit more fruit forward. Let's get in the Focal, because there's a lot of people who ask me which one I prefer out of these two, and my answer is usually, I don't know. They both have different qualities to them. I guess it'd be depending on the mood. I would say if I want a little bit more a little bit more bitterness, a little bit more dank herbaceous kind of quality, I'd go Heady. If I want a little bit more of a pop of fruit character, I'd go Focal. Depends on the ABV, 7 to 8, Yeah, these are very similar, actually. This smells more of a concentrated, sweeter, almost like fruit bowl or fruit cup, the syrup you get from a fruit cup. It has a little bit more of that concentrated sweetness, even though you can't smell sweetness. So this has that berry thing that Mosaic had. Heady had it a little bit, but this is more concentrated, more intense. But again, citrus as sweeter, orange, tangerine, that stone fruit, mango, apricot, nectarine. But that berry's popping a little bit more, maybe a more pineapple, more tropical nature to the nose. And not as big on the herbaceous dank quality. Still has a greenness to it, like a tomato stalky, kind of, walking through a garden. But it definitely is leaning more fruit forward. They both, again, they're about 3 weeks old, and they both have just a vibrancy on the nose of the fruit character, the hops themselves, the intensity. They smell so fucking inviting. Yeah, I want to take down Heady and then get right into Focal. So cheers, everybody. Here's to 6 years of the Beer Patrol, hopefully another 6. For all of you who have supported the channel over the years, I really do appreciate it. We're coming up on 3,500 subscribers as well. By the time I post this video, hopefully it's around 3,500. But the support's unbelievable. I get so many positive comments too. I get some comments where people shit on me, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't. I never said I did. That's what my channel is as a whole. It's some guy talking nonsense on the internet. That's what I do. But cheers, everybody. I really do appreciate it. The finish of Heady, now that I reviewed this beer, like I said, 2019, 5 years ago. The finish of the beer is what kind of wins me over, I think, at this point. And I love in both of these beers. Now, I haven't had Focal yet, but I've always enjoyed that I get a little bit of that base malt, right? It's not big or anything, but a little bit of a grainy, kind of biscuity, honey kind of sweetness. it really sets itself apart because there's not a lot of double IPAs that I drink. I'm like, oh, I get a little bit of malt character. And a lot of people are, I don't want to taste maltiness. And listen, I'm just saying I get a little bit of it, like a touch, right? And I think it sets itself apart from that aspect for me personally. Anyway, body mouthfeel. It's 8%. It's higher side of medium body. It's fine. The mouthfeel, that's another thing I like about this beer. While it is crisp on the palate and it has almost a moderate carbonation, have this effervescent kind of feel, it still somehow is soft, has a smoothness and a little bit of creaminess to it. Now, this isn't like, your crazy mouthfeels nowadays from the, Fidens and the brew house and the tree house and all those. That's not what this mouthfeel is. It's not supposed to be. But it's still very inviting. The taste, pretty much the nose carried over. Up front, again, that biscuity, bready, grainy kind of malt character hits me, dives underneath the palate, touch of honey, then waves of citrus. Now, it's not as juicy and fruity as it was in the nose. It's more like it's the all-encompassing, the orange and like a tangerine. So it's pithy, it's zesty, but it also has a little bit of juicy, sweet qualities to it. After that, more of an underripened, I'd say apricot, mango, sweeter pineapple. The mixed berry isn't as prominent in the taste for Heady. It's more of the citrus and stone fruits. Went down the wrong hole. Second half of the palate, there's a nice resinous pine quality, a deep dank herbaceousness. I feel like the reason why I kind of can tell the difference between Heady and Focals, I always found this one to be a little bit more dank and herbaceous. It finishes semi to full on dry with a moderate, firm bitterness. And I said it in the original review because I did go back and watch these reviews because I'm like, I'm going to review them. I kind of want to see what I thought about them when I reviewed them originally. And I'm saying slightly different things than I said in the original review, but the one thing I remember with Heady, and it happens every single time I drink it, it has the marriage of both worlds of that, new school, New England hazy IPA, and then the old school like West Coast IPA. This has a firm, moderate bitterness that sits and lingers on the palate, and that's how I can tell the difference between these two, because I don't feel like Focal has that as much, but we're going to get into it. We'll see. But that's why I like Heady so much. So easy to drink, I almost forget it's 8%. Like I'll be honest with you, there's nothing on palate, there's no warming in the chest. The only reason I know this is a little bit of a bigger beer, like I say 7.5, is because the body is, again, higher side of medium. So, and the mouthfeel too, like it's just, you don't get that typically in like sub 7% beer. So I know it's bigger from that aspect, but man, hides the alcohol beautifully. It's a great beer. This is not only iconic from yesteryear, but I feel like this is it gets its flowers nowadays. It really does. There's a lot of people who do appreciate this. Even if I see a lot of haze boys that drink all the crazy hype shit nowadays, and they go to Heady and they go, man, this is still really good, because it is. It's just a fucking good beer. Doesn't matter if it was 20 years ago or it's in fucking 2024. It's still a fantastic beer. And it's one that, like, if I was close to Stowe, this would probably be always in my fridge, because we'll talk about it later, but price point on this is fucking absurd from the brewery. I pay a little bit more, obviously, getting distro, but like if I lived by the brewery, it'd be in my fridge all the time for the price point. There would be no reason for it not to be. It's just a lovely drinking experience. So, Heady, fucking delicious. Let's get into Focal. Cheers, everyone. I think this is where newer school drinkers would gravitate towards. Off of that first sip, definitely more fruity and juicy than Heady. Yeah, it's definitely sweeter as well. Being 7%, this is like medium, a touch over medium, where this is definitely higher side of medium. So you can tell the difference in the ABV from the bodies. The mouthfeel, I think I like Heady a little bit better mouthfeel too. Take that back, they're very similar. Just because I think it's a little bit thinner, that maybe it kind of is messing with my mind, because they're both, again, somewhat moderately carbonated. There's an effervescent to them, but they are softer than anticipated and also smooth and creamy. So I think they're really nice as a whole. I think the body's better on Heady, but you expect it 1% higher, and then the mouthfeels are very similar. The taste, it's kind of like Heady Junior, but erase a little bit or a decent amount of that like herbaceous dankness and introduce more of like a berry tone and a little bit more, again, vibrancy, a little bit more intensity to the fruit characters. That's where Heady is. So if someone was like, which one would you buy? I would say if you're more of the old school, I want a firm bitterness, I want more herbaceous, dank pine resin, and not like punching you in the face over the top with fruit characters, go Heady. It definitely has fruit characters, just not over the top. Where Focal's more like to that citrus mosaic, sweeter, juicy kind of vibe with a little bit less of a bitterness and like other hop characters. But they're both fucking delicious in their own right. So easy to drink, 7%, you can't tell. Yeah, so this, again, has that same like grainy kind of bready, biscuity malt character. I feel this time around, and it's different, this is a little bit more noticeable from that aspect, which Focal, yes. Heady, not typically. So a little bit different, but yeah, it's juicy citrus fruits from orange to grapefruit, tangerine. There's more of that like over-ripened mango, peach, almost like a little bit of a peach gummy ring, like a dried, kind of like a dried mango too, like a sweeter mango, pineapple, but that berry is very prominent compared to Heady. Like it's more intense in the taste. And it's not over the top like berry, but it's just like a little bit more noticeable. But this is definitely more concentrated, like sweeter stone fruits for me. Finishes semi to full on dry with a mild to moderate bitterness. Is definitely more bitter than Focal. And they're both fucking, like I said, delicious beers in their own right. 7%, you really can't tell. And it's lighter that like, it almost drinks because of the body being a little bit thinner. Like the body's like just a touch over medium, more like in that 6.5, 7 realm, which it is. So it's, I think, more sessionable from that aspect. But I don't know. One more sip. I'm also getting a little bit like confectionery sweetness, like a little bit like, I feel it's like the yeast. Shout out to Joe Senegali, Joe's Arcade, a friend of mine, fellow beer tuber. He, has mentioned lately about like how some people perceive, and I've said this as well, where like that yeast character, you can perceive it being bubblegum. Some folks will say vanilla, confectionery sweetness. Cotton candy is another one. For me, I typically get that vanilla confectionery sweetness. And I'm getting that in Focal, but not in Heady. And I'd imagine they use probably similar, if not the same yeast, right? Probably just like a house yeast strain. I don't know. I'm a nerd. Obviously, I'm reviewing beer on YouTube, but when it comes to beers, I don't dive too far into like histories and whatnot. I'm sure people who have drank, thousands of cans of these probably know way more than I do. But I just feel like this has a little bit more like what I would perceive to be a yeast quality, a little bit of confectionery vanilla thing. Which one do I prefer? I don't think I could tell. Like, is it a cop-out to say that I like both and that they're both different enough where like I couldn't really tell you? Here's what I say. If I had to choose one to drink and I could never have the other one, I would definitely go with Heady. I think Heady is the winner. Why? Where I am in terms of my palate and how much I enjoy beers, the key thing for me is nowadays for hop forward beers that are in that like fruity, juicy, not old school West Coast, not old school American IPA, I want that bitterness. And I think Heady provides the bitterness more so than Focal. I love the fruit character for Focal. All right, for Focal, it's there, it's prominent, it's in your face, you understand it. I just think Heady does a better job of balancing out what I want nowadays. And I think when I originally reviewed Heady, 5 years ago, I may have leaned more towards Focal. I don't know, but I will say doing a side-by-side like this, and I'm not going to cleanse the palate. Let me go sip after sip just to see. Okay. Yeah, so what I basically said is how it comes, like basically what I just said about like the differences. After those 2 sips, it becomes clear. This is more of the balanced, fruitiness with that herbaceous, dank pine resin quality, not over the top. For some reason, this one I'm tasting a little bit more of that like, bready, biscuity, grainy malt character. And this is just more on full of like a fruit blast with that confectionery vanilla kind of yeast thing. There isn't a ton of bitterness here in comparison to Heady. There's like a mild to moderate. This is full on moderate, maybe a touch over. So again, for my palate, it would be Heady between the two. Of these two batches I'm drinking right now, just so you know, I think Heady was canned on March 4th of 2024, and this was March 5th of 2024. And yeah, that's where I think I land. They're both delicious, though. So, rating-wise, what am I going to give them? I'm going to give Heady. I'm not going to change my rating from last time. I'm just going to go 4.8. Give it a high 4.75 because this is what it's no longer 5 out of 5 for me. But it's a 4.8, and whatever. It's arbitrary, right? Numbers. Like if I give it a 5 or a 4.8, doesn't matter. This is fucking amazing. If you've never had it, I'm sure you want to try it, especially if you like hop-forward beers. And for those of you who've had it, maybe you're disappointed by it. Maybe you think it's amazing. I'm just giving it a 4.8 because that's what I gave it last time. However, I have to, I think, lower my score of Focal because doing the side-by-side, I like a little bit less. So I always give this one a 4.82. I'm going to give this a 4.7. I'm going to drop it 0.1. I think that's what I got to do, but they're still in the 4.75 range. If we took the can into consideration, I like Focal Banger's can more. I like the black can, honestly, the shiny black can more so than Heady, but that's just a personal preference. So, and if we want to do like, if I want to do a you know, if you watch this long, I don't know, like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? Everything. But I'll do a thumbnail here. Why? Because I can, and that's what we're gonna do. So, doing a thumbnail, and I can't, like, I'm just sliding underneath. Doesn't matter. Fucking no. And I probably won't even use that as a thumbnail. Who the fuck cares? Anyway, let me cleanse my palate. I'm gonna drink them out of the can and see if it makes a difference. Then I'm gonna do the cuvee. Then we're gonna shut this down. It's gonna be like 25, 30 minutes long. Who cares? If you watch the end, I always say post something in the comment section. Why don't you just post happy 6th anniversary? That's it. Nothing big. All right, so do a little swirl here. Let me drink out of the can. I didn't think it would make a big difference, but from the can, it's more concentrated fruit characters. And I'm getting that vanilla kind of yeast, like that confectionery thing that I got with Focal. And less dankness. What the fuck? My mind has to be playing tricks on me, right? That's not how that works. Hang on. No, it's 100% different than in the class. There's no way. I'm getting cantaloupe out of the can. A Focal. I think I just wasted 20-something minutes of my life. No, I don't understand. Like, what the fuck? If you've ever tried it out of the can compared to the glass, have you had a significant difference? Because I don't know if I'm just fucking hammered right now, or my fucking palate's broken, or maybe my taste buds no longer exist, but it is completely different. This, more concentrated juiciness, that little bit of vanilla I was getting in here with the yeast, like, this is way different than the glass. The same thing here, I got cantaloupe. And more of an intensity to the fruit character. This was vastly different than the glass. This is somewhat different than the glass. I still think I prefer the glass because of that herbaceous kind of dank quality, which I'm not really getting in the can. I brought an extra glass because I was like, oh, I'm going to do... No, we're just going to do these fucking... Fuck that. I don't need to waste that glass. All right. We'll go Heady into Focal. And then Focal into Heady. That sounds gross. Yeah, I know. I know. All right. I know when I do side-by-sides, they're going to be 20 plus minutes. That's the beauty about doing side-by-sides. That smells fucking amazing. And for some reason, now I'm getting cantaloupe, even though I never got it in Focal until I drank it out of the can. Cantaloupe, sweet melon, citrus, so orange, tangerine. Dare I say Tangelo, even though I haven't said it this review. But there is that dank herbaceous kind of pine resin thing. A little bit of like a bready honey malt. This smells fucking crazy good. All right. Cheers, everyone. Not as good as them on their own, but not bad. I think the nose is better. Yeah, I think it kind of takes away from each one individually. I would give the Cuvée more like a low 4.5, like a 4.4, maybe like a high 4.2, like a 4.3.5, 4.3. The body and mouthfeel all fine, you know, like kind of medium, higher side of medium. Mouthfeel's nice, similar to both of them. It kind of took away from the fruitiness, but also didn't add anything. Yeah, I don't like it as much. I give it like a 4.3. That's where I'd go with the Cuvée. I think I like them individually on their own. Price point availability. This is where it's fucking bonkers. I'm pretty sure these are $12.99 a 4-pack at the brewery. For both, like, yes. When they make distro, they're more like $20 a 4-pack, $21 a 4-pack, which I get, right? I don't mind paying $5 for a can of these at all. Like, no questions asked. But if I live by Stowe, for $13 a 4-pack, these would be in my fridge at all times. Availability. If you live in Vermont and you can make a trip to Stowe, check them out. If not, they do get some distro now. Here in Buffalo, we've been getting drops of them for like 3 or 4 years. And back when we originally started getting drops of them, it would be you only have to drink them you could only drink them on premise. So if like a bottle shop got them that had like, you know, beers on tap there you could drink at, you had to drink them there. Same thing with if they got them at a bar, you had to drink. You couldn't bring them home. Now, local bottle shops get them. Those same places get them. You can take them home. Clearly, I took a can of each home. So, you know, and I know these have made it. I know some beer tubing friends out on the West Coast, in the Pacific Northwest and California have gotten their hands on them before, in the South. So, you know, easier to get nowadays. But these are two beers that you really owe it to yourself to try out at some point. Like, I can't stress enough how fun these beers are and how delicious they are. So that wraps up the anniversary review here on the Beer Patrol, side-by-side comparison of Heady and Focal. And if you've done this before, what was your preference? If you actually sat and did a side-by-side. Mine is Heady to my surprise. I thought Focal would win out, if I'm being honest with you. I love Heady, but like the last couple times I had Focal, I thought it was better, but I never did a side-by-side. And doing them side-by-side, I think I've come around to like Heady is kind of like what Pliny is from Russian River. It's just like a balanced enough beer for my palate that like I could go back to at 8% and drink a shit ton of. And that's where I'll leave you. If you've had either of these beers before, comment section. If you did the side-by-side comment section, I apologize for the longer review. It's an anniversary review. I think twice I've done like an anniversary stream. I think I'm going to do one a couple days before this, so you'll see that stream before this if I do it. But it's not going to be obviously on the anniversary. And usually I would do something like this live just so you could go for a couple hours and it wouldn't be a big surprise. But we're doing this way because why the fuck not? That's what the channel's for. So if you watch to the end, thank you for watching to the end. I'm sure a lot of you have already checked out. But I love doing stuff like this, and hopefully we have 6 more years of the Beer Patrol, and maybe one year I'll actually celebrate April Fool's Day by doing something crazy on the channel. I don't know. We'll see. Thanks everybody stopping by for another beer review. Thanks for all the support. Appreciate it. To the next one. Cheers. Did I even talk about the ABV? Like I always at the end of like regular reviews, like did I talk about the ABV? I think I did, but I don't know. And if I didn't, like whatever. You really can't taste them. It doesn't matter. Not really. Am I shit-faced? I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm getting there. I did the Cuvée. Shout out to Don't Drink Beer. To the next one. Cheers.